Well, hey everyone, Geezer Tony here once again. Today I wanted to take just a few minutes and we're going to talk about bounce. I've been getting a lot of questions about bounce. Do I use the bounce? How do you use the bounce? What is the bounce? So I'm going to explain to you what it is and then how I use it. I'm not going to tell you what you have to do. Your grass may be different, your swing may be different, your clubs may be different than mine. But if you can understand what bounce is about, then you may more easily be able to utilize or not the bounce on your club. So what is bounce? I've made a little visual aid here that I'm going to put in front of us here in just a second to show you up close what bounce is and how it works. And then we'll talk about what it does when you expose the bounce to the ball or you reduce the bounce for your shot. So let's take a look and see what I have for you with this visual aid. Okay, so I have this visual aid here to help you see and understand what the bounce on your club is. So if this was a representation of a ball sitting on bare dirt or the ground, I've mounted it to a piece of wood with a screw. But the bounce would be with the shaft absolutely vertical. The angle that is created from the leading edge of this ball down to the wood, that is your bounce angle, and it's measured in degrees. So the bottom of the club is not even with the leading edge, with the shaft being vertical. Different clubs have different amounts of bounce. This happens to be the sand wedge that I use when I'm playing, and it has 10 degrees of bounce. This is an older wedge that I used previously, and it appears to have the same amount of bounce that the previous one I showed you, and both of these are 56-degree sand wedges. We have here now a 60-degree wedge, and it appears to have less bounce. Now, I haven't measured these. Most clubs, or a lot of clubs, will tell you what bounce they have when you buy them. Generally speaking, a 60-degree or a 62-degree has less bounce than the lower lofted wedges. So what is this bounce all about? If we lean the club forward, and you see we're reducing the bounce and we're bringing the leading edge lower so that we can hit the ball actually on the club face rather than the leading edge hitting slightly upward from the bottom of the ball. If we lean it back, it gets worse, it gets even higher. So by leaning the club forward, we are reducing the bounce and introducing the club face to the ball. So what does it all mean? And why do we need bounce, more bounce or less bounce? What does it do for us? Bounce can definitely be your friend if you have a nice cushiony ball sitting up off the grass lie. And especially here in the South, we have grain. It's what's called grain in the grass. It grows, instead of straight up, it grows in a direction. And if our club wants to hit this grass, it tries to grab it and stop it. There's a lot of resistance. And if we expose the bounce, it helps it glide through rather than grab. So if you are here in the South on Bermuda grass and you are not using the bounce on that cushy lie, you're probably going to need a lot more force to get that club to come through. And it's very difficult to control your shot or your speed. So there are times when we need to use the bounce, and there are times when we don't want to use the bounce. For example, also here in the South, when our Bermuda grass goes dormant and it turns brown, it tends to get wet, stepped on, whatever, mowers, smash it flat down into the ground, and you don't have any cushion. At that point, you can't use the bounce, or you will never hit the ball on the club face. For me, what I use is a 10 degree of bounce. Most sand wedges, 56-degree sand wedges, have 14. A lot of them have 12, and you can buy them with different amounts. As I said, most of them, they'll put it out on the toe here now or under here somewhere and tell you what the bounce is. I think each of us need to decide what we need. I prefer the 10 for the tight lies. It helps keep you from blading or semi-blading a chip shot or a pitch shot when you have a tight lie. I do lose a little bit when I, let's say, hit a bunker shot. We haven't talked about what the bounce does in the sand. We all know that if we open that face, it increases the bounce or the depth of this bottom edge. And that's what we use in the bunker to stop the club from digging into the sand so it will go on through the sand. So it's kind of the same thing with the grass. We're going to let it help it get through the grass without stopping. When I am showing you my chipping technique, I'm not using the bounce. I'm keeping my hands ahead, which lowers the leading edge down so that it will go under the ball without you having to do anything, any manipulation with your hands or anything. If I show you a shot where I've slightly opened the face, there's two reasons I may do that. One is I want to use that bounce, or I need the ball to go higher. But this video is about bounce, so we're going to stick to the reasons I may open the face for bounce. So if I've got a chip shot and there's a lot of grain at me, I will take my practice swings, and they are to be useful to gain knowledge of what you're about to do, to get information. If I take my practice swing in that grass and it feels like it's grabbing, then I'm going to need to use some bounce. So what do? If I open the face, it's going to go higher than I really want to. So I will take the next club down and open it a little bit, therefore making a gap wedge into the loft of a sand wedge, and it will glide through that grass a lot easier. So I think we should all experiment with bounce, but we don't want to make impact with our club shaft straight up or leaning back. We always want to make it with it leaning forward. So if you need more bounce on here to be able to use some bounce when you lean it forward, then you probably need 14 or so. Obviously, you can't use the bounce off of a very tight, hard pan lie or bare dirt. You're going to semi-blade it, you're going to scull it over the green, it's going to be a disaster. That's when we want our hands the most forward. So I hope this little conversation here has helped you understand what bounce is and how to use it and when to use it and when not to use it. So for now, this is Geezer Tony signing off till next time.